Ghana's 1992 constitution and hinting of convening a national consultative dialogue to find some possible changes to this legal document.
To achieve this, I would soon establish a committee to begin the planning of a national constitutional review validation on the way forward for the constitutional amendments that we have all proposed.
And tonight, as President Akufo-Addo is cautioning the country to hasten slowly with the constitutional review, John Mahama is receiving support from other well-meaning Ghanaians who are asking him to proceed.
There is no perfect constitution anywhere in the world. I would say that this constitution has served us well.
I'm fully in agreement with President Mahama that there should be a review of.
And top story, as always, is brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Sogah, and tonight it is the most enduring Ghanaian constitution, securing the longest and perhaps the most stable in Ghana. But tonight we can confirm to you as Joy News that John Dramani Mahama indeed has plans to review the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. Since 2010, successive Ghanaian presidents have been unable to implement this Constitutional Review Commission report, which is recommending some drastic changes to Ghana's constitution.
The Constitution has served us well. It has provided the platform for the longest period of uninterrupted, stable, constitutional democratic governance in our history. The Constitution does not cure the irritations of the democratic process. There's no constitution that will satisfy the desires of those who do not believe in the democratic process. I would suggest that in the approach of the calls for a constitutional review, we should be guided by the old saying, festine lente, the Latin adage for hasten slowly. In this spirit, I'll be forwarding the document prepared and submitted to me by the Constitutional Review Consultative Committee on proposals for the review of the Constitution, along with the concerns and suggestions raised to the President-elect for his consideration as he prepares to assume the responsibilities of leadership.
Well, and just as you may have heard there in his last address, President Akufo-Addo there indicating that he was indeed in the spirit of this whole national conversation, forwarding the document prepared and submitted to him by the Constitutional Review Consultative Committee on the proposals of the review of this 1992 Constitutional Review, along with some other concerns and also suggestions to the President-elect, now President of the Republic, John Mahama, for his consideration as he prepares for office. Now he is in office. But what are the key recommendations coming through from this Constitutional Review Committee report? My colleague Gyasi has been looking at that very document that was submitted to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in the very wee hours of his administration, and now has details of what it is that the key recommendations are in terms of how we need to reform or perhaps change this constitution. Ken, let's get to it, because Clara Cassiti, as we understand, a very renowned lawyer and also with the University of Ghana School of Law, has been leading that charge. Then, of course, we had the document submitted to the president.
Yes.
First, tell us about the membership and the composition of this review committee.
Right, and Clara Cassiti, as you rightly mentioned, from the University of Ghana School of Law is part of it. We also have Victor Brobe from the National Commission for Civic Education. We also have Professor John Asafo-Ajayi from the African Center for Economic Transformation. Chunebua Kodria Dixon is from the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, is part of it as well. We also have Yao Buadu Ayabuafo from the NMC. We have Justice Yoni Kolendi with the Judiciary. We also have John Nwoza with the Audit Service. We have the Anthony Forson with the Ghana Bar Association. We also have Alfred Tua Yeboah, who is the outgone Deputy Attorney General. We also have Dr. Kujo Mensah Abrampa with the National Development Planning Commission, and then we have Nana Tewia Ochre from
quite
the
a loaded
Parliamentary Service.
committee there with immense expertise into what it is that has to be done in terms of rationalizing the Constitutional Review Commission report, because that's the basis on which all of these 12, I guess, individuals plus are working around making recommendations to then the former president now, and of course the former president has given us indication that that document is before John Dramani Mahama. So let's proceed and talk about the constitution itself, because proponents who say do not touch it, for instance former president Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, have made the argument that this is the constitution that has served us well.
Yes.
What's the basis of that argument?
Indeed, and since we gained independence in 1957, we've had 4 republics. We're in the 4th one. And then they make the argument that the First Republic, for instance, which lasted from 1960 to 1966, lasted for just 6 years. The Second Republic also, they say, lasted for just 3 years as well. And the Third Republic had the shortest lifespan.
The 81 coup coming through.
With over a year. And they say that the Fourth Republic has since seen 9 democratically elected presidents and 9 parliaments. It has also witnessed a transfer of smooth and peaceful transfer of power upon the death of a certain president. It has witnessed different political parties forming government, including where the speaker was not a member of the ruling government. It is thus the most enduring Ghanaian constitution, securing the longest and most stable democracy in Ghana, if not Africa.
Quite an intense argument there for proponents who say, well, let's keep the constitutional order as it is. But be it as it may, the recommendations for the president now. Let's take a look at the document and the key recommendations being made now.
Yes, so they've recommended some caps on a few things. The first one is on the appointment of ministers of state. The second one is the number of members of parliament. And the third one is constituencies. They've cited Articles 78 and 93 for their basis of those arguments. And the appointment of ministers from parliament, they've also made argument for that. And then they're also arguing that the president must pay taxes. The president should be made to pay taxes, and they are recommending the election of MMDCEs who were told that they should. They were sacked by President John Dramani Mahama just yesterday. And
you don't want to remind them of that, Ken Gyasi,
so
there, giving us a few of the recommendations, and indeed quite an extensive document it is. My colleague Ken Gyasi there, just gleaning the document and giving us bits and pieces of some of the key recommendations. We'll speak to the chair of that committee that made the recommendations to the president shortly. But tonight, Joy News indeed can confirm to you that John Mahama is taking immediate steps now for the review of the Constitution. He's made his first public address since his inauguration, and John Mahama told that gathering at the 92nd Jalsa Salam of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission at Gomwa Pomasi in Winneba today that he will soon convene a national constitution validation conference to give effect to constitutional reform. Listen.
Justice is a moral compass that must guide our every decision, every law, and every interaction in our nation. To this end, the new NDC administration is resolutely committed to strengthening our justice system to ensure judicial independence and address the systemic inequalities that currently exist. I can assure you that this administration will work tirelessly to ensure that every Ghanaian, regardless of your status or background, is treated with dignity and afforded equal protection under the law. To achieve this objective of justice, we would have to move the stalled constitutional review process forward. To achieve this, I would soon establish a committee to begin the planning of a national constitutional review validation conference to achieve broad consensus on the way forward for the constitutional amendments that we have all proposed.
And of course, there you have the confirmation from John Mahama, who says is, of course, proceeding despite the caution from President Akufo-Addo that it is not broken. The Constitution has served us well, but John Mahama believes that justice must be served to every Ghanaian involved. I want to bring in now some individuals who have, immense understanding of what the constitutional frame-up is. In fact, Clara Kasiti is chairperson of that committee, the Constitution Review Consultative Committee that made the recommendation to former President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, and also we do have Kweku Ansah-Asare, who's the former director of the Ghana School of Law, all joining us on this very conversation tonight. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for joining us. I want to start off with you, Clara, because this is a profound statement from John Mahama on the very first public appearance after his inauguration. I want to find out from you what your impression is of the timing and as to whether or not it's not early in the day for John Mahama.
I don't think that it's early in the day, in the sense that when he was making his campaign, if I recall correctly, constitutional review was part of his campaign. So I do not think it's early days yet. Also because constitutional review does take some process. It is not something that you can do in one day. So you need to start at some point and work towards the goal. And we have to remember that for the current president, he has just one term. He has just 4 years to be able to pursue this that he has committed himself to. So I do not think that it is too early.
Indeed, you were part of the Constitution Review Consultative Committee. We're just, pointing to some of the priority areas for your team that submitted that document to former President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. Are there some key issues that we could start off with, irrespective of, the concerns and challenges concerning some other recommendations?
Absolutely. There are quite a number of key issues that we believe that the president could consider. For example, the capping the size of parliament, addressing the issue of whether or not we want ministers to come from parliament or we want parliamentarians to focus on the work of parliament. Of course, in addition, in connection with capping the size of parliament, also includes, of course, capping the constituencies. There are also issues about capping the president's power of appointment. How many ministers, for example, that he or she can appoint. We know that the current constitution leaves it to the president to decide. So a president under the current constitutional dispensation can appoint as many ministers as he or she wants. We've seen how that has worked in the Fourth Republic. Do we want to continue that so that any president can appoint as many as they wish? Or we want to cap it so that a president cannot appoint beyond a certain number, which is one of the recommendations that we make. We also know that the issue of Article 71 holders and setting up committees to determine the emoluments of Article 71 holders is one of the issues that Ghanaians are concerned about. And Ghanaians have time and again brought it up for discussion and all of that. The committee makes a recommendation in that sense, a very simple way to address it. Just have a formula for determining the emoluments, just like we have formulas for determining the emoluments of public sector workers. And then that formula becomes automatically adjusts emoluments and all of that in accordance with the time. So you do not need to set up a committee each time to determine the emoluments and then have to pay the committee and all of that. A one-time committee says the formula, and then the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is able to address, to handle it thereafter. We also know that the issues of appointing heads of constitutional bodies, including to certain constitutional entities, has been one of the things that Ghanaians have been interested in and wanting to see a way that can be more inclusive and that can be more, at least in accordance with the ideals of democracy.
Clara, the feeling is because this concerns the political class, we've not had that political will to cause the change that we need.
Well, hopefully, yes, what we have needed is political will. If I recall correctly, the president did talk about some of those issues during his campaign. If he's expressed the interest of setting up a committee to look into this and to take the step further, I believe these are some of the issues that they should be interested in looking at.
Right, and I'll be bringing in shortly Ansar Sarah, who's the former director of the Ghana School of Law. But one more issue with you, Clara, which has got to do with Article 66 of the Constitution. And perhaps I may just want to read a portion of that to you. And I'm looking at Clause 2, which says that a person shall not be elected to hold office as president of Ghana for more than 2 terms. John Mahama has almost an absolute majority of MPs under the sponsorship of the National Democratic Congress. Is there an entrenched clause, or perhaps in the constitutional review, is there the tendency perhaps or the opportunity for the NDC to cause a change in the tenure?
Well, I cannot speak of what the NDC wants to do or doesn't want to do, but I know that when we were doing process, there were some submissions from various quarters that suggested that we should look at that provision. Some suggested that instead of 4 years, let's make it 5 years. Others suggested that let's make it 7 years and then it's a 1 term. There were several suggestions on that, but the committee agreed that we would leave that as it is. The reason being that it's also helped us. We've seen, of course, I'm sure that we've also seen how power has transferred after the 4 years and how Ghanaians have settled it. So we are convinced that Ghanaians favor the 4 years. But we are not in a position, I am not in a position to know what the NDC intends to do or doesn't.
I clearly get that. So your recommendation is that Ghanaians support the tenure of the executive president and not necessarily we don't need a change there.
We did not recommend a change in that provision.
Just hold on for me briefly. Let's hear from Kwaku Ansah-Asare as well, a former director of the Ghana School of Law. And thank you so much, sir, for spending some time with us. I want you to first of all listen to the former Chief Justice Akufo, who's been speaking to us on why she believes that we need to review the Constitution. Then I take your thoughts on that.
I've never agreed with the former president that the Constitution is so perfect that it doesn't need to be reviewed. In fact, the Constitution being a living document has to be it has to be nursed, it has to be nurtured, it has to be tweaked, it has to be massaged from time to time. We take a look to see whether it continues in every respect to suit the current day purposes. And there is nothing wrong with reviewing or revising a constitution to make sure that every provision serves the purposes of the people. So I'm fully in agreement with President Mahama that there should be a review. The process started over a decade ago. It's just unfortunate that it came to how would I say, an unceremonial pause, but we do need to take a second look at it. 33 years or so we have been working with this constitution. We need to acknowledge that there are certain parts that are not working the way we had anticipated it ought to work.
Well, so Kweku, that's the former Chief Justice Sogah Akufo speaking to me in the last couple of days. Your take on that, really, the analogy about just servicing your car and relating that to the constitutional review process.
So thank you very much for having me on your show. I will agree with to a large extent, to the extent that where things are not working out well for the nation, then we can take a second look, at the constitutional framework and why the governance system is not functioning the way, that the framers of the Constitution intended the Constitution to work. But having said that, let me quickly react to Clara's, comments. First of all, your question on Article 66, for instance, I suspect that this whole rush to establish or form a constitutional review commission is to tinker, with Article 60, clauses 6 and 7. Mind you, Article 60, Clause 7 is applicable, to John Mahama, the current, president. Article 66 provides that whenever the president dies, resigns, or is removed from office, the vice president shall assume office as president for the unexpired term of office of the president with effect from the date of the death, resignation, or removal of the president. Then the key clause 7, quote, where the unexpired term served by the vice president under clause 6 of this article exceeds half the term of a president, the vice president is subsequently only eligible to serve one full term as president, unquote. I believe, and I suspect quite strongly, that, this is one area the newly elected president, is trying to invite and urge the general public to tinker with this particular provision.
And what's the basis? And what's the basis of that claim, particularly?
Or there shall be two terms. The Constitution is quite clear in its language. Only one term. The question is, did he serve half the term of the late President Jonathan Mills? If yes, the Constitution has answered it already. If no, the Constitution has answered it already. Now, if I situate this in the context of former Chief Justice Sogah Akufo's comments, then she is saying that if that is not going to work well for the nation, nothing prevents the general populace, from doing the right thing. Well, to a large extent, I agree with her. But we should be honest in trying, to set up committees to revise or reform or review the Constitution. Another area, which calls my suspicion is with regard to the removal of, the Chief Justice. You see, the former President Akufo-Addo left the nation down, quite woefully. Article 1466 provides that where the petition is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the President shall, acting in consultation with the Council of State, appoint a committee consisting of 2 justices of the Supreme Court, one of whom shall be appointed chairman by the President, and 3 other persons who are not members of Parliament nor lawyers. 7. The committee appointed under Clause 6 of this article shall inquire into the petition and recommend to the President whether the Chief Justice ought to be removed from office. 8. All proceedings under this article shall be held in camera, and the justice or chairman against whom the petition is entitled to be heard in his defense by himself or by a lawyer or other expert of his choice. 9. The President shall in each case act in accordance with the recommendations of the committee. The President did not follow this procedure, and the procedural lapse is going to provoke needless debate as to whether what the President did was right or wrong. Mind you, Professor Azan has already indicated
I see.
that he's going to take the matter up. I think that the right thing should be done. The president had no right, absolutely no right to determine the fate or otherwise
right. And perhaps the
removal of the CJ. I'm not saying that the CJ should be removed.
I get that.
All I'm saying is we should follow the tenets of the Constitution.
And I guess these are some of the areas that ought to be ironed out clearly in the Constitution. But just to take you back to the Article 60, Clause 7 claims you were making, how different is that from the decision made earlier by the Supreme Court in the case of Ken Kranchi, for instance? That case, you recall, was dismissed. The court had claimed that its jurisdiction was not properly revoked. Are you then contending that anybody who proceeds to court now to challenge the eligibility of John Mahama might be successful?
I don't think so. The removal, Article 69 is quite clear, on the search for removal, of the president. If we are honest to ourselves and we do follow, the procedure carefully spelled out, by the Constitution, will not, be
So your argument is that going by the proper interpretation of that constitutional provision, John Mahama wouldn't have crossed to the inauguration stage.
Sure.
Is that your argument, sir?
Pardon?
I'm saying that going by your argument, your argument is that giving the Article 60, Clause 7 interpretation, per your view, John Mahama would not have crossed into the inauguration side.
At all.
Really?
What I'm saying is, he is eligible, now that he's president, he has to run only one term, that's all. And you add his current term to the 3.5 years or so that he served. That was the unexpired term of President Atamilson's tenure. That's what I'm saying. So that the two will give us the 8.
I see.
Which is the constitutional magic figure.
Okay.
So I'm saying that there's no need whatsoever to set up a constitutional committee to review this article because the language is clear. If we have any doubt, let's place it before the Supreme Court.
Okay.
But don't let us set up a committee to review. And this is where I disagree with the greatest respect. I don't agree with the learned former Lady Chief Justice that, if we find every, 3 years or 5 years or 10 years that, things are not working out well for us, we can, amend it. Right. I would rather go along with the view of Chatu Chikata, who said that we should continue, to commit such blunders until we realize that enough is enough.
Okay. Sorry, thank you so much for your time. Let me give the last few 30 seconds to you, Clara, to make your concluding remarks on this.
My concluding remarks are basically that, as I have always noted, the Constitution has been resilient. And if you look at the history of our country, our most resilient Constitution has been the 1992 Constitution. But we have also practiced it long enough to see where the areas that we need improvements. So I think that at this stage, this is where we take specific areas, focus on them properly, know exactly what we want, and do targeted amendments, rather than start another whole trial and error process. And I think at this stage, we do know the specific areas that are problematic. It's a matter of commitment and then getting everybody along, public engagements for all of us to agree, and then we can proceed with amendments. Indeed,
and I'm grateful that Clara Cassidy, chairperson of the Constitutional Review Consultative Committee. Also grateful to you, Kweku Ansah Sare, former director of the Ghana School of Law. Next is Newsnight.
live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across the country. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. In the next 60 minutes, the lights will be kept on. That's the assurance from President Mahama as his government tackles the looming energy sector crises amidst key plans to privatize ECG.
And so there's a threat of power outages. But my brothers and sisters, don't despair. Like I said, you elected us to solve the problems. We will make sure that your lights stay on and that we do not have doom so.
We'll get to hear the World Bank's position on the ailing energy sector and its intervention.
Given the challenges that Ghana was facing on energy, Ghana was not part of the first group of countries. But we have a roadmap that we can allow Ghana to be part of the second group generation of country that will be built next year.
Okay.
Plus, WAPCO begins conversations with their contractors to delay the scheduled pigging exercise, which will lead to a shutdown of the gas pipeline for another 2 weeks.
So we engage the various contractors that are going to do various aspects of the work. They all confirmed to us they can delay the work to up to 2 weeks. We just need the confirmation.
Plus, energy sector players are welcoming the appointment of John Abujinapo as Energy Minister designate.
And it's not a small tax that's been thrown at him. We can only wish him well and wish him that he does the right thing, engage the right people.
Also coming up tonight, Minority Leader Alexander Afenyomarkin slams President John Mahama for what he describes as code taught appointments after the president nominated the first 3 ministers designate to serve in his cabinet.
When the names were read out by Mr. Speaker, he read out only 3 names: the Finance Minister designate, the Energy Minister designate, and the Attorney General and Minister of Justice designate. Mr. Speaker, this taught appointment is unacceptable. Mr. Speaker.
We have details plus bring you the verdict of Finance Minister designate Cassia Latoforsen on the state of the sector he is inheriting.
Ghana should brace for serious austerity in the coming years for the next 4 years or more. The mess they have created is such that they will leave office, their shadow will follow any government that comes after them.
The state of our nation is hopeless. You are taxing me for moving money from my back pocket to my front pocket. How can you do that?
You want to stay with us as we explore the challenges that lay ahead. Also tonight, increasing number of parents call for a review of the free senior high school policy, urging financial capability or capable parents to pay the awards fees amid government's food supply challenges in the various senior high schools days after reopening.
Those who can pay should be allowed to pay, and we should rationalize the process.
And in business, we're bringing you some industry reactions to the nomination of Dr. Atoforsen as Minister Designate for Finance.
And in sports, former GFA Executive Council member and President of Young Apostle Samuel Inimado charged with misconduct by the association for social media comment on the performance of a Ghana Premier League referee. We'll bring you details plus reaction by his club who are distancing themselves from him.
He loved people. And whenever he told these stories in Sunday school, he always said he did it for one simple reason. He worshiped the Prince of Peace, and he commanded it.
And all 5 living presidents of the United States gather at the National Cathedral in Washington to honor and bid the first born-again U.S. President Jimmy Carter farewell as he's laid to rest today.
Jimmy Carter did justly, loved mercy, walked humbly. May God bless a great American and a dear friend and a good man. May he raised up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. God bless you, Jimmy Carter.
You want to stay with us for details of these and many other stories. You can also get interactive with us on WhatsApp. It's 055-111-997. You can also go to our Facebook and Twitter handles with the hashtag Newsnight. My name is Kenneth, Gyasi.
And I am Emefa. Apawu details shortly.
There's a business in every woman, from the young lady brimming with exciting and novel business ideas to the market queen managing her empire. There's the she-architect, quantity surveyor, realtor, business consultant, crafting dreams into reality. and the multitasking mom seamlessly blending work at home, the entrepreneur meticulously checking stock, to the corporate woman sealing deals on the move. Indeed, there's a business in every woman. Introducing Telecel Women in Business, our initiative to empower women-led and women-owned enterprises. Benefit from tailored activities, networking, business and technical support, free webinars, trainings, and more. To join this initiative, be a female-led business and a Telecel business customer. Visit telecel.com.gh/business to register now.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana mada with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Dana kron kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Thanks for staying with us. This is Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM, and tonight government is seeking to buy more time to tackle a looming energy crisis as the West African Gas Pipeline Company prepares to shut down its Takoradi to Tema pipeline for maintenance for January 20 to February 16th, 2025. The move is expected to disrupt gas supply, risking significant power shortfalls unless alternative fuel sources are secured.
And with just 11 days to go, the government must secure $89 million to purchase fuel for the affected thermal plants, while President John Mahama, speaking at the 92nd Annual National Jalsa of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission in Pomadzi, assured Ghanaians of stable electricity during the period. He acknowledged the challenges but urged citizens not to lose hope, noting it will take at least 2 weeks to procure the needed fuel.
Shutdown of the West African gas pipeline was supposed to take place in October last year. At the intervention of this government, it was postponed till January. This is a long delayed maintenance and has to be urgently done. But what it means is that there will be no gas available for all our generating plants in the east of Ghana, that is the Tema enclave, because it will have curtailed the gas coming from Nigeria and the gas that comes in the reverse flow from our gas processing plants in the west. And so it means that the thermal generating plants in the Tema enclave would have no access to gas. And normally, to forestall blackouts because of the loss of almost 2,000 megawatts of power, we have to make provision for fuel. And this is light crude oil, heavy fuel oil, and distillate fuel. Unfortunately, enough provision was not made for this eventuality. When the fuel arrives, it takes time to import it, 3 weeks, to place an order and get it delivered. And when it arrives, you have to treat the fuel for another week and a half to make it ready for use in the generating plants. And so there's a threat of power outages. But my brothers and sisters, don't despair. Like I said, you elected us to solve the problems, not to put the blame on anybody else or to shoulder you with those problems. And so yesterday I called a meeting of all the stakeholders in the electricity value chain. And they have been sitting since yesterday to today to come out with innovative solutions so that we're able to keep the lights on. And so I can assure you, with some of the ideas they've come up with, we would make sure that your lights stay on and that we do not have doom so, as you popularly call it.
That's President Mahama's assurance a while ago at the 92nd Annual National Jalsa of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission in Pumati a while ago. Well, let's check on this particular pigging exercise. Wapko, Ken, you've been speaking about it a while ago. It's expected to happen from the 20th of January all the way to the 16th of February in 2025. And thankfully, we have the General Manager of Corporate Affairs for Wapko, Dr. Isaac Ejedoku. We are grateful for your time here on Newsnight. First, though, let's get clarity on this particular planned maintenance. Has it been rescheduled or is still on course?
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for having me on your Thursday. I think the President His Excellency the President has articulated that this is an overdue maintenance that we have to undertake. Yesterday, we were at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
The plan, which was new from last year, was that the maintenance will start on the 20th of January. And yesterday, we were at the meeting. It was obviously made clear that the alternate fuels that will be needed at SEMA are not yet ready. So we're tasked. We've already contracted the vendors that will be undertaking the start. I think we've had initial conversation with them, bearing in mind the impact that the pigging exercise can have on the power system in the country. And so our MD did indicate that the initial conversation we have had with the various contractors and vendors is that the start of the pigging on the 20th, it's possible that it could be delayed for up to 2 weeks. However, because this is an initial discussion we've had with them, we are going to get back to the team with a firm conversation once we've got things in writing, because these are contracts and you cannot go by verbal conversation. So that is the information we shared at the meeting, which His Excellency the President referred to in his address. A technical team was formed, I believe, from the various meetings, and they are working on it. And the information that we provide yesterday may be part of what they are using in the exercise that they are doing.
And then from that engagement that you talk about, at least you're still waiting for that firm confirmations from the contractors. Do you have any idea exactly when you can get that?
I'm sure within the next 24 hours, we'll be able to get back to the ministry and convey that information back to them.
But this is an overdue maintenance, as you've described it. What will be the impact of another rescheduling?
As I did indicate, the pipeline itself has got two components. There's a component which is onshore, on the land, which is mainly in Nigeria, and there's a component which is offshore, which is from Lagos Beach all the way to Takoradi. The onshore bit has been completed. So as far as the pigging exercise is concerned, we finished the first part. It's the second part, which is supposed to start on the 20th, and we've signed contracts and all of it already. And as indicated earlier, we've gone back, we've spoken to the various contractors. Is there a possibility that we could delay the start from the 20th? And that was the message my MD conveyed to the meeting yesterday. And so that, I would say, is the maximum that the various contractors have given to us, that possibly up to 2 weeks. It was a good discussion, so we're hoping that we will get it in writing as well.
Whether it's delayed or not, some will say it's a slap that has to be received. So when we finally decide on when it should be done, are there any alternative measures in place to forestall any, crises that many are concerned about?
No, that I think is up to, that is what the government and His Excellency has explained, that they are trying to get alternate fuel. because if there's no gas at Tema, some of the plants in Tema, I believe, can use either gas or liquid fuels. So those are the measures that I think the government, His Excellency, refers to, that they are working around to see how they will get the alternate fuels that can be used at Tema.
Okay, we are grateful. We'll definitely be checking in on you. And that's Dr. Isaac Ejedoku. He's a general manager of corporate affairs at WAPCO. And it remains to be seen when exactly we're told that it looks like there will be that delay, which is very, very possible.
But whatever happens, it's going to happen. Meanwhile, to tackle the larger energy sector challenges, the government is already seeking to privatize the electricity company of Ghana. And at the heart of the challenge is ECG's failure to effectively channel revenue to key power stakeholders, threatening the entire energy supply chain. At a meeting with the World Bank President, John Mahama says privatizing ECG is an option on the table.
The Achilles heel of Ghana's financial and economic stability is there, and blew apart everything that we have achieved, in the last few years. And so how we change the systems in the energy sector to make sure that we pay down the debt and make it more efficient than it is currently. I was vice president at the time. My president, Professor Atta Mills, signed the MCC. Actually I signed it, but he initiated the discussions. And when he was ready to sign, I was the one who signed it. And it was meant to improve and make Ghana the most efficient producer of electricity in Africa and become a major hub for electricity exports. Unfortunately, democracy has its dividends, but it also sometimes can be a curse. We left government and a new government took over and took over the Millennium Challenge Compact, mixed up the last segment of it, which was providing efficiency in distribution, billing, metering, and all that. And of course, PDS is history now. But we want to take a look at that again, because if we don't fix the electricity company of Ghana, we will continue to have a major problem with our whole power value chain. And so going ahead with privatizing the last point of distribution of electricity to bring in private sector efficiency is something that we want to take up again.
So we've also been hearing in that meeting from the Vice President of the World Bank responsible for West and Central Africa, Osman Diagani, and he says they are more than ready to assist Ghana to solve the energy sector crisis. There's a but though.
But let me here seize the opportunity to inform you that the President J. Banga and the President Adesina, respectively the World Bank and African Development Bank, are convening a head of state summit on energy in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, on January 28, 7 and 28. Wow. Yeah, the 27 will be with the minister, and the 28 is on head of state. So the letter was sent 2 months ago. And I think we would be very honored to have you participating in the discussion. As part of this conversation, we had identified 15 what we call compact country to prepare their plan, which make a combination of reform and investment that the World Bank can support. Given the challenges that Ghana was facing on energy, Ghana was not part of the first group of countries, but we have a roadmap that we can allow Ghana to be part of the second group generation of country that could be built next year. So I think this could really provide an excellent yes.
Well, Emefa, talks have already begun for the privatization of ECG with the International Monetary Fund, and the Akufo-Addo-led government, just before they left, agreed with the IMF on a roadmap to introduce private players into the electricity distribution network. And my colleague Michael Ashali has details of this roadmap. He's joined me in studio with details. Michael, what was the position of the former government regarding ECG privatization?
Well, Kenneth, we know that the former government had already outlined plans to privatize the electricity company of Ghana. According to the third review document under Ghana's Extended Credit Facility Agreement with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, released in December 2024, a framework for privatization was being developed developed. Now, the report indicates that in collaboration with the World Bank and IMF, Ghana had prepared terms of reference to hire a consultant tasked with drafting a restructuring strategy to facilitate private sector participation in ECG's operations. However, this plan was contingent on the completion of a comprehensive technical and financial audit of ECG's operations.
And I want to believe there were timelines given for this process.
Yes, Ken, the draft restructuring strategy for ECG privatization was scheduled to be completed by the end of June this year, with cabinet adoption expected by the end of September. So based on Ghana's commitment to the IMF, the privatization process was projected to be finalized by the end of the year.
Right. Thank you very much, Michael Ashali there.
Also, that some experts in the energy sector agree that privatizing ECG could provide a long-term solution to its persistent challenges. We can hear from Executive Director of ACEP, Ben Boachi, stressing that fixing ECG's operational issues should be a top priority. He spoke on upfront.
But on the broader scale of things, I think we have to look at how we sustainably fix the energy sector. Perhaps into the later parts of the month, we need to do a stakeholder consultation around how we address the energy sector situation, generation planning, making sure that we are bringing on efficient power plants, because there are new generation of power plants that when we talk about efficiency, it means that it will use lesser amount of fuel to generate much more significant quantities of power. But key on the agenda, if government cares to fix this problem, is to let ECG go, as far as I'm concerned. That's what should be on the table if we really want to fix this problem sustainably. And I'm hoping that we won't continue to be dancing around the core issue of letting the distribution side go. That is the engine room. That is where the money is made. If we fail to do that, this conversation is not ending today.
Well, so that's Ben Boachi there, and we know that today there's been an appointment for that sector, and with all the challenges that this sector is faced with, John Jinapo has been appointed the minister designate. Experts are saying there's a lot on his hands that he has to deal with, but he's not the only man that has been appointed.
Exactly.
Well, we know also that the finance minister designate in that position has also been occupied, and the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Dominic Akufo-Addo has also been appointed. We know Casey Olato forcing, and we've been talking about it. It generated a lot of talk in Parliament, and we've been hearing from the minority leader.
Yes, the minority leader who has been described the move that has been adopted by President John Mahama as tot approach, and has also criticized the government for publishing the names before they were even read in Parliament.
When the names were read out by Mr. Speaker, he read out only 3 names: the finance minister designate, the energy minister designate, and the attorney general and minister of justice designate. Mr. Speaker, this tot appointment is unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, this is a government that promised a 24-hour economy in opposition. They told us that they were ready for government. Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, indulge me.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Yes, indulge me.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Is that how you are starting it?
Please.
Let me finish.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Yes.
I'm just indulging you because you are a leader. This is a time slotted for correction of vote and proceedings.
Yeah, with your leave. Mr. Speaker, this government, I'm talking for you, please, it's for you. Mr. Speaker, this government promised a 24-hour economy. Mr. Speaker, we expect them to be ready from day one. Mr. Speaker, you cannot start energy, finance, attorney general. When are the ready of the minister? You must be ready. We want to hear Amakofibua. We want to hear Agric. We want to hear Agric ministry. Honorable Erikopoku.
Honorable Leader.
Honorable Erikopoku.
Honorable Minority Leader.
We want to hear Agric ministry. We want to hear roads and highways.
Honorable Minority Leader.
We want to hear lands and natural resources.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Education.
Well, that's the minority leader.
Yes.
Alexander Afenyo-Marking. Let's bring in Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, right?
Indeed, and Kweku Asante is joining us on the telephone line with more. Kweku, we know that the Minority Chief Whip, Frank Anodompreh, has been promising rigorous vetting. Tell us about it.
Well, yes, so the Insoma Adreju MP did continue the drama that was started by the minority leader. He also spoke about some of the appointments, but zoomed directly into the fact that these persons, despite they being key figures in Parliament, will face rigorous vetting when they appear before the appointment committee.
The president has made it abundantly clear that he will not go beyond 60. So, at one breath, Honorable Nogbe, are you going to be among the 60? So, on a more serious note, I want to commend your good self and leadership for being proactive when we took the decision to put together the selection committee and the appointment committee and the business committee in anticipation of these nominees coming. We on the minority side will be ready for you at the appointment committee. We want to caution your nominee to come prepared. It's not going to be business as usual. Come prepared. I hope you will be prepared when you appear before the appointment committee.
And Kweku, how has the majority leader, whose name has been mentioned to be the finance minister, been responding to all of these?
So while all this was happening, he was seated in his chair, but his deputy, Emmanuel Lama-Kofi-Gua, did respond to both the minority leader and his chief whip. And he said that they appear to be saying a lot. And in particular, if you look at this week in Parliament, there's a lot that has been said by both the minority leader and his leaders and his members. He says the reason why they are speaking like that is simply because they want to vent their frustration after such a historic defeat in the last election.
We've been indulging him because we understand this difficult transition, and we believe that we should allow him to basically bring out all the pains of losing. But we want to remind him that his responsibility is to ensure that the business of this house flows. And we expect you to be productive. We expect you to cooperate as we did to ensure that government business is done. For now, we are indulging you because we know the painful transition you are going through.
Could we have an idea when the vetting will be done?
Not at the moment. We expect that by next week there will be modalities for these three persons to be vetted. Parliament has taken 1 week or a little over a week break. In fact, they are not sitting tomorrow. They are not sitting the whole of next week. They will resume next 2 weeks, Tuesday, to continue business. But we expect that between now and then, the plenary will resume. The appointment committee will do its work. The understanding is that, and in fact, this was raised up on the floor, the standing orders regarding the reading of communication from the committee has been suspended, which means that even while the House is not sitting as a plenary, if the President nominates more persons, the Speaker of Parliament can simply minute that and refer him to the appointment committee to work on it. We understand next week, while the House is not sitting, some of these persons may be vetted, but the modalities itself will be actually published by Bernard Ahiafo, who is chairing this committee, by next week, so that we get to know when Atufo, St. John Jinapor, and Dominic Ayine will get their date before the appointment committee.
That's Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante. Thank you.
Right, let's go back to the telephone lines again and speak to Godfred Bobkin, who is an economist and professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. We want to understand what the selection of Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson as finance minister means for the economy. Professor Bobkin, thank you very much for your time. Looking at the enormous challenges, the economic turmoil the country has been plugged into, do you think that Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson is the right man for the job at this time?
Well, good evening, and good evening to our cherished listeners. Well, I think from the party's perspective, you could see from when the party orchestrated changes in Parliament in terms of the leadership of the minority then, that they were putting a lot of premium on the economy, and they wanted to elevate that. From that, they chose Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson to be the minority leader. That's my reading of it. And therefore, I think to a large extent, he represents the party's understanding of the challenges that can be resolved going forward. So to a large extent, I would say that, yes, he checks the box and all of that. But of course, if he decides to work with the structures, because there are technical, well-qualified people at the Ministry of Finance that he can leverage on their expertise and all of that. So I think we can give him the benefit of the doubt. Of course, in terms of his international exposure, he will need to scale up from that perspective and all of that in terms of engagement with multilateral institutions and stuff like that, the professionalism that comes with it, and again, his own technical understanding of the economy. And I think he has improved in the last couple of years, again, given his role as a minority leader and all of that. But at the end of the day, the task ahead is enormous, and I believe that this wasn't lost on them. And on the back of this, Ghanaians chose the message of the NDC over the MPP. So I want to believe that they are up to the task.
Right, Professor Bobkin, kindly hold on for me. I'll come back to you, but let me briefly bring in Professor Lord Mensah, who is an associate professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. You've also heard about the nomination of Dr. Kassiel Atufosin. What are the first things you think he should deal with if he becomes finance minister?
Of course, we know the economic situation we find ourselves in. I'm expecting him to, from his first budget reading, that will be from March. The current budget that is being running is more or less a budget owned by the previous administration. And so the one that he's going to read from March, he should give us a signal of, a reorientation of the economy from the corridors of, government to the private sector. And we can see that from how government wants to spend. And then already, the signal earlier has been that government wants to cut down expenditure and make up for this by removing some, levies here and there. So from where I sit, they should stick to what they sold to Ghanaians from their manifesto, and then they should be able to find a way to reorient the economy and ensure that the economy gets to the people. A situation where we're talking about past inflation of 54%, we don't want to see that again. And luckily for him, we're under an IMF program which has its own conditions, and the condition is to tame down government expenditure and then enhance, revenue, generation. So if we stick to that within the first 1 year of his administration, we should be able to get a conserved economy, and then we move on.
Okay, Professor Lord Mensah, thank you very much. But let me wrap up with you, Professor Godfred Bobkin there. I also want to find out from you, what are the first few things you think the finance minister designate should deal with?
Well, of course, everything comes down to the economy right now. And I want to believe that totally thinking that by now the president would have announced a significant number of ministerial appointments. I think that the president should take a look at the pace in relation to what has to be done, and because the point is that the NDC would have known even before December 7th that they were going to win the election. And the period of transition should have been utilized efficiently. That's my considered view. So by now, the signal has to be clear. The market cannot wait for that long and all of that. So I think it's something that the president should take a second look and speed up along those lines. The more you wait, the more the pressure will come from you in reviewing CVs and all of that. But by now, you should have a clear understanding of who is going here, because you have a vision. So, but the priority for me is to focus on poverty reduction measures. Approximately 30% of Ghanaians are extremely poor. That is unacceptable.
Right, Godfred Bobkin there. He is a professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. And earlier we also heard from Lord Mensah, who is a professor of finance as well from the University of Ghana Business School, Emefa.
Well, James Aveji joins us. We've been digging a lot. Well, during the campaign season, we know that the economy and the cost of living were top concerns for Ghanaians.
Exactly.
Let's talk about how inflation currently is looking, amongst others.
Well, Emefa, the Ghana Statistical Service recently released the inflation figures for December 2024, which showed an increase from 23% in November to 23.8% in December. Now, this marks the fourth consecutive month of marginal increase in the monthly inflation rate, while inflation is significantly improved from the record height of previous years. This upward trend, according to the service, could persist into 2025, signaling that controlling inflation remains one key challenge of this administration.
And the big one is the cedi against
the
dollar. What does it look like?
Well, I mean, it's been strengthening in the last few weeks. In November last year, it peaked at 16 Ghana cedis to the dollar, but it has since appreciated slightly and remained relatively stable. Currently, it is hovering around 14 Ghana cedis to the dollar, and the Bank of Ghana quoting 14.74% per dollar today. Now, for Dr. Kesala Tuforce, in maintaining this stability while working for further strengthening of the cedi will be crucial to curb inflation and restoring the public confidence in the government as well.
And I'm sure there will be a lot more conversations on this, because we know already that Ghana has resumed interest payments on its restructured Eurobonds, and we'll get to know a lot more about it because George is also coming in with that. But it's a good time to bring back Dr. Kesala Tuforce.
Let's first start with Dr. Tuforce, who has been nominated as the Finance Minister Designate. He's currently Let's first start.
Well, George, I'm bringing your report ahead of time. I won't do that. What's in business? What's coming up?
Well, we'll be exploring some of the other challenges that will lie ahead for the Finance Minister Designate, that is Dr. Tuforce, and also some agri sector players attribute a rise in food inflation to failed government policies over the years. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, Pepsodent and Synthesis tanks.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Shout! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information. We are good together everywhere you go.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Yafini gave us the vibe. Now, Inshola Chili makes you thrive.
Yes, it's time to
to enjoy, Charlie. Buy or renew your motor insurance and boom! Free fuel coupons and airtime for your sweat. Who no like enjoyment?
From January to June 2025, Enterprise Insurance gives you more reasons to smile on the road. Insure today and enjoy free fuel coupons for your car and airtime for your phone.
Free fuel? Airtime too? Hey! Enterprise Insurance, always your advantage.
Insure not chilly. It's simple. Insure and enjoy. Ready to secure your peace of mind and experience the fastest claims payment? Visit any of our branches or agency outlets nationwide. Connect with your insurance broker or enjoy the convenience of buying your insurance online through the Enterprise Advantage app today. Terms and conditions apply.
Enterprise, your advantage.
First Sky Group, a wholly owned Ghanaian company made up of First Sky Construction, First Sky Bitumen Processing, First Sky Commodities, Volta Serene Hotel, Western Serene Atlantic Hotel, Serene Insurance, First Sky Energies, and Federal Rural Bank warmly invites you to its 22nd Thanksgiving service on the theme Proclaiming God's Unfailing Love, Romans 8:37. The Thanksgiving service in two parts will be hosted by the founder and executive chairman, Mr. Eric Sedi Kutoche. There'll be an all-night service on Friday, 17th January 2025 from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. at the Trinity Temple Assemblies of God Church, TTAG Community 10, Tema. Ministering in word, Reverend Mark Sessi, National Missions Director, Assemblies of God, Sierra Leone. Reverend Sujit Alex, FAM's North Area Leader, Assemblies of God, UK. Thanksgiving service follows on Sunday, 19th January 2025 at the main auditorium of the Accra International Conference Center. The time is 10 a.m. Guest speaker, Reverend Stephen Yensum Wingham, General Superintendent, Assemblies of God, Ghana. Chairman for the occasion, Most Reverend Professor Johnson Kwabena Asamoah Jedu, the presiding bishop, the Methodist Church Ghana. Ministering in music will be MOG Music. Also in attendance will be His Eminence Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, Reverend Professor Paul Frimpong Manso, Immediate Past General Superintendent, Assemblies of God, Ghana, Apostle General Sam Kwanchi Ankara, Royal House Chapel International, Reverend Steve Mensah, Charismatic Evangelistic Ministry, Most Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, Apostle Professor Kwejo Opoku Onina, Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tete, Reverend Dr. Sylvanus Amegashiti, Elam Group Corporate Chaplain, First Sky Group, and many other senior clergy. For more details, please call 020-854-3441 or 0248-940-021. First Sky Group 22nd Thanksgiving Service, proclaiming God's unfailing love.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, President John Mahama has finally nominated the current majority leader, Dr. Akufo-Addo, as the finance minister designate. But what are the challenges that lie ahead for this person that will be leading one of the most important portfolios in this government? There is more in the following Business Desk report.
Deal with if his nomination is approved by Parliament will be how to press ahead with the removal of some taxes promised by the party. One is the e-levy, the 10% on bet winners, emission levy, and the imports levy on agric machinery. All these taxes, Joy Business understands, could result in government losing about 7 billion Ghana cedis every year. Therefore, one is not sure about the alternatives that he will propose when he becomes the finance minister. Dr. Forson will also have to deal with the push by the business community that they're being overly taxed and the need to review the whole tax structure going forward. When Akufo-Addo was the Deputy Minister of Finance, he was in charge of revenue. Therefore, he may have the institutional knowledge to deal with this challenge. President John Mahama has also indicated that he will move to renegotiate Ghana's program with the IMF, and this is another challenge that he may have to deal with as a finance minister if his appointment is approved. This is because the IMF has maintained that it is open to review Ghana's program only if what is being proposed is in line with the target under the program. How will Akufo-Addo also deal with the huge budget deficit for the first quarter of this year and in the coming month? How will Akufo-Addo also deal with the huge budget deficit for the first quarter of this year and in the coming month? Again, meeting the necessary debt payment to investors in the coming month. Akufo-Addo also pressed ahead with the current monetary policies of the Bank of Ghana that has helped in stabilizing the Ghana cedi at least for more than 1 month.
And that is a business desk report. Meanwhile, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry have also been sharing their expectations about the finance minister designate. Let's hear from Stephen Mason. He's the president of the association.
For us in the business community, it's really an exciting news in the sense that Dr. Akufo-Addo has been in that ministry and in that position as a deputy minister. So he comes now as the minister with a lot of experience and know-how, especially that he's been there. One of the things we expect the new finance minister is to ensure that we have a business-friendly environment. That is key. We are also looking at taxes. I know during the campaign of the current government, they talked about scrapping some taxes. We look forward to that. And also, what incentives are they also looking at bringing to the business community as to ensure that the 24-hour economy can be realized?
Stephen Mason is the president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Some players in the agri sector are attributing the rising food inflation to failed government policies over the years. Latest data from the Ghana Statistical Service showed that the rise in food prices was a major driver of inflation for last year. This resulted in government missing its end-of-year target. The December rate reached 23.8%. Edward Karawa is one of those industry players the joy business has been engaging.
We all know that from the beginning of the year, we have not invested enough in agriculture. We have also conducted some activities that undermined agricultural production. For instance, galamsey activities have been severe in 2023 and has affected agricultural production. So it is not surprising that food prices are going up and then they continue to drive up the national inflation. Yes, one will want to say that, the planting for food and jobs has worked, as government has always been touting it to be a success. But you see, how do you convince the ordinary Ghanaian who goes to the local market to buy foodstuffs that planting for food and jobs program has been successful?
Edward Karawa is an agri sector player. Now, the World Bank says it is committed to ensuring the completion of the $150 million Akpawu irrigation project. The project, which is the second phase, will require additional funding to support the $30 million for its completion. Addressing the media on the tour of the inspection of the project, World Bank Vice President for West and Central Africa, Gyasi, emphasized that the organization's efforts aim at championing the completion of the program.
The small and medium, enterprises that are presented by the farmers that I have seen here, because private sector agriculture by definition is a private sector activity. It's a family business. It's cooperative, etc. But to make sure that those people will continue to be encouraged really to invest their resources and to spend time on it. I think definitely the overall environment also have to be much more conducive. So the work will continue.
Osman Adian is the Vice President of the World Bank in charge of West Central Africa. Now, EcoBank says it will move to review the loan repayment terms for the affected customers at the Kantamanto market. Managing Director Abdul Sepoku said the bank will continue to engage its clients in the market. She spoke to Joy Business after paying a welcome visit to the affected customers at the market here in Accra.
So at EcoBank, we are always looking for opportunities, not just to do business, but also to do good. Being one of the systemically important banks in our country, and of course having supported SMEs from our inception, once we heard of the fire outbreak and the repercussions for our customers, I thought it was very necessary that I lead my team to come and commiserate with them and to empathize with them, and above all of that, to show our support. And that's why we've decided to support them financially with concessionary interest rates and a moratorium and flexible interest rates. Indeed, we've also taken them through the various products and solutions we have that would help them. For us, banking is a relationship, it's a partnership, and therefore it's very important that we support one another regardless of the times.
Abner Sepoku is the managing director for EcoBank Ghana PLC, and that's all for business on News. And it's time for sports. It was Bowen. Are we looking forward to the sports minister designate be nominated very soon?
Yes, we're looking forward to that. We are waiting. It does appear it's one day, maybe 3 ministers appointments. So wait to see. We'll see when that will be done. But before the sports minister is announced, some development at the quarters of the Ghana Football Association and its Young Apostles president, Ghana Premier League side Young Apostles, their president Samuel Animado, has been charged with misconduct by the Ghana Football Association's disciplinary committee for a social media post complaining about the performance of referee Maxwell Hansen. The former GFA Executive Council member described referee Hansen as the man chosen by the FA for their dirty jobs, which has put the integrity of the league in disrepute. His comment comes following accusations or concerns raised by Accra Lions following their game against Dreams FC. Now, here are excerpts of that statement by the Ghana Football Association.
Samuel Animado has been charged with a breach of Articles 34.6d and 38.8c of the GFA Ghana Premier League Regulations 2019 following his commentary on his social media account on X. It is alleged that his commentary in the said post constitutes misconduct, which brings the name of the Ghana Football Association and the Ghana Premier League into disrepute. It is further alleged that part of his commentary involved accusations against a match official without proof. He has until Monday, January 13, 2025, to respond to the charges.
Well, away from that to the earlier incidents at the Barbara Sports Stadium, where the National Sports Authority boss in the Ashanti region was forcibly removed from his office by some thugs, and earlier my colleague Delali Atiasi of Love FM was at the venue, Barbara Sports Stadium, and he put what he saw in this report.
The Ashanti Regional Director of the National Sports Authority, Kwame Ba Mensah, has been forcibly evicted from office by unknown persons. According to Love FM sources, thugs believed to be connected to the National Democratic Congress stormed the NSA office at the Barbara Sports Stadium on Thursday morning to lock up the offices, except that of the administrator. The heavily built men demanded that Kwame Ba vacated his office and handed over the keys to his office and his official car. Officers from the Sogah police station, led by ASP Kofi-Abuaje, intervened to control the scene and allow the safe departure of the regional director. Events took a dramatic turn when a greater number of staff of the NSA in the Ashanti region supported the action of the thugs, with many seen jubilating and hooting their boss out of the premises. The staff leveled a series of allegations against their boss, ranging from inappropriate promotions to victimization, bad working relations, corrupt practices, and non-payment of allowances for casual workers for 3 months. In a rather unceremonious manner, the regional director was booed by the staff before he was escorted into a private vehicle that sped off to the delight of the NSA workers, some of whom hurled insults and invectives at their boss.
Yatiase of Love FM there. Well, earlier the MPP minority in Parliament demanded the President John Mahama to instruct the police to arrest all such persons engaged in these forcible removal of persons in their office and put them before court. Here is the Deputy Minority Leader Patricia Apia Ejay, who addressed the journalists in Parliament.
This slogan suggests a broader and deeply troubling agenda aimed at reshaping the country's institutions through illegitimate means. These acts of tampering and violence, as shocking as they are, cannot be viewed in isolation. They are deeply connected to the actions or lack thereof of President himself. Even before President John Dramani Mahama officially took the oath of office, he set a dangerous tone for governance by establishing the so-called Operating Recover All Leaks Oral Committee.
Well, away from Parliament, though, calls are intensifying for a review of the free senior high school policy to allow financially capable parents to pay the awards fees, and the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, has appealed to parents and guardians to supplement their children's food supplies as the National Food Suppliers Association cites an inability to deliver food to schools.
Well, the suppliers blame the situation on the absence of a clear payment agreement and uncertainty over whether the current administration will honor arrangements made by the previous government. In response to the growing crisis, many parents are urging the government to introduce a flexible payment system. You can listen to some of them when they called into the Super Morning Show today.
Those who can pay should be allowed to pay, and we should rationalize the process. How can a buffer stock go buy things and distribute the whole country when they can get, the schools can get it? Let us scrap the whole idea of buying from buffer stock. Let the schools go to their local market. So we have fed them from the local market before they came to school.
There should be a special department maybe under GES to look at importing the importable items like the tin tomatoes and things they need to import, rather than giving it to people who add their profits to it. Somebody has to go into audit of who manages the supply of the food. You know, there are canteen people who are procuring food. We know all over the years.
I have never ever understood why the country will say for somebody like Justin, Sian, Dr. Sian of Japan, Ibrahim Mahama, Nana Akufo-Addo, President Kufo, and their likes, and MPs and chief executives. I've never understood this, that their children should enjoy free education. They, at least, reasonably, they have some coins. They can pay their children's school fees. We have thousands and millions of them in Ghana.
This free SHS thing, the problems were there from day one. When it was envisaged, professors of high repute have spoken, they were all shunned, they were insulted, and blah, blah, blah. Now we are back to the same problems and the same square. Well, the problems are there. Buffer stock here, food here, this here. The best solution is that Mahama shouldn't cancel it. It's already been brought upon Ghana. We have all money. It shouldn't be cancelled. The schools should be day schools. More schools should be day schools. Once the day schools are there, people will be fed from the house.
Some parents there who phoned into the Super Morning Show earlier today on the free SHS and the food supply situation. Where are we going next?
We're going to the United States of America, Emefa.
And earlier today, all 5 living presidents or former presidents of the United States gathered at the National Cathedral in Washington to honor and bid the first born-again U.S. President Jimmy Carter farewell as he's laid to rest later today at his hometown in Georgia. Well, we can hear first from his grandson who paid glowing tributes to him.
He loved people. And whenever he told these stories in Sunday school, he always said he did it for one simple reason. He worshiped the Prince of Peace, and he commanded it. The bedrock of my grandfather's faith comes from the Apostle Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 8, 1 through 18, 38 and 39.
There was also a tribute by U.S. President Joe Biden.
I was a 31-year-old senator, and I was the first senator outside of Georgia, maybe the first senator, to endorse his candidacy for president. It was an endorsement based on what I believe is Jimmy Carter's enduring attribute: character, character, character. Because of that character, I believe, is destiny. Destiny in our lives, and quite frankly, destiny in the life of the nation.
And that's U.S. President Joe Biden there. May the gentle soul of President Jimmy Carter rest in perfect peace. 100 years. Wow.
Indeed, that's not a year anybody
May
can
we
get.
all be blessed.
Amen.
Like that. Well, we have personality profile coming up, and guess who's here? A+. Well, the freshly minted MP of our time.
Yeah, honorable. The newest honorable in town.
Well, that's how we wrap up today's edition of Newsnight. I bet you want to hear from Ato-Forson some of the things that he said over the period. We'll get to hear him shortly.
Yes.
Ken, let's go.
Yes, Ato-Forson has been making comments criticizing the outgone administration about how they handled the economy. Let's listen.
So, colleagues, Ghana should brace for serious austerity in the coming years for the next 4 years or more. The mess they have created is such that they will leave office and their shadow will follow any government that comes after them. Commercial lenders and others will have to accept a reduction in interest and principal payment or risk default or non-payment. So the question is, you accept the haircut no matter how bad it is. It doesn't matter whether you get ugly, because obviously if you don't accept it, then there will be non-payment. So I would prefer to be ugly than not to get my money at all.
If, for instance, I have a bank account and I've been called upon that, Mr. Speaker, I am transferring money from my personal wallet, my personal bank account, to say my wife's bank account, or to say my own mobile money account. Mr. Speaker, they are saying that they are going to tax me. Mr. Speaker, my concern is that this simply means that you are taxing me for moving money from my back pocket to my front pocket.